In the pages of the New Testament lies a name that history almost forgot, a name that reveals Africa's early role in the birth of the Christian church. His name was Lucius of Cyrene, a prophet, a teacher, and one of the men God used to ignite a movement that would change the world. Cyrene was no ordinary city. Founded centuries before Christ, it was a place of learning and trade, a jewel of North Africa known for its philosophers, its wealth, and its connection to the wider world. It was also a melting pot, a crossroads where Africa, Greece, and the Middle East converged. And it was from this powerful city that Lucius emerged, a man of both intellect and faith. By the time we meet Lucius in the book of Acts, the gospel had begun to spread like wildfire. In Jerusalem, persecution had scattered believers across the lands. Some of those believers, men from Cyrene and Cyprus, carried the message of Jesus all the way to Antioch, a bustling city of diversity and influence. And there, for the first time, the good news was preached to the Gentiles, non-Jewish people, who received it with joy. Many scholars believe Lucius was among those bold evangelists. In a time when faith could cost you your life, these African believers carried the gospel without fear. And through their courage, the city of Antioch became the new center of Christianity, the first place where believers were called Christians. Among those leaders was Lucius of Cyrene. Acts 13:1 tells us, "Now there were in the church that was at Antioch certain prophets and teachers, as Barnabas, and Simeon called Niger, and Lucius of Cyrene, and Manaen, and Saul." Lucius stood among the prophets and teachers, a man anointed by God to help guide the early church through its most critical hour. It was in that sacred gathering that the Holy Spirit spoke, saying, "Separate unto me Barnabas and Saul for the work whereunto I have called them." And there, under the African influence of Lucius and Simeon, the first great missionary journey of the Christian faith began. The gospel that spread into Europe, Asia Minor, and beyond, the message that reached Rome, Corinth, and Philippi, all flowed from that moment in Antioch. And Lucius of Cyrene was part of the leadership that sent it forth. Africa was not watching from the sidelines. Africa was in the room where destiny was spoken. Lucius's work did not begin in Antioch. It was built on generations of faith. Cyrene was already home to a strong Jewish and African community. Even at the crucifixion, a man from Cyrene, Simon, carried the cross of Christ. Now, years later, another man from that same region carried the cross spiritually, spreading the message of salvation to the world. From the hands that carried the cross to the voices that carried the gospel, Africa's fingerprints are pressed all throughout the story of redemption. Lucius stands as a reminder that the early church was never confined to one race, one people, or one land. It was a tapestry woven from many nations under one spirit. We may never know all the miracles he witnessed, or the people he led to Christ. His story may be brief in words, but its weight is eternal. Lucius of Cyrene was part of God's divine design, a prophetic voice from Africa who helped birth the global church. Today, millions across Africa and the world lift their hands in worship, proclaiming the same Christ Lucius preached nearly 2,000 years ago. His legacy lives in every church, in every nation, in every voice that declares Jesus is Lord. Acts 13:1. Now there were in the church that was at Antioch certain prophets and teachers. Lucius of Cyrene, a man once hidden by history, now remembered as a cornerstone of faith, a teacher of truth and a voice of Africa in the early church. Lucius of Cyrene, a prophet, a teacher, a pioneer, a hidden story of black history in the Bible.